Hello friends, welcome to the third video in the series of videos on Introduction to Swift. In this video, we will learn about operators, decision making and loops in Swift programming. Operators. An operator is a special symbol that tells the compiler to perform mathematical or logical manipulations. Swift supports most standard C operators and improves several capabilities to eliminate common coding errors. Operators in Swift can be unary, binary, or ternary. Unary operators operate on single target and can appear before or after the target. Binary operators operate on two targets and appear between them. Ternary operators operate on three targets. The values affected by operators are called as operands. Some of the common operators in Swift are arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, bitwise operator, assignment, and range operators. Range operators are not found in C but are provided by Swift to represent a shortcut for expressing a range of values. Arithmetic operators. In the category of arithmetic operators, Swift supports add, subtract, multiply, divide, and modulus or remainder operator. Unlike the arithmetic operators in C and Objective-C, the Swift arithmetic operators do not allow values to overflow by default. To allow value overflow, precede operators with an ampersand sign. Operators preceded with an ampersand sign are known as overflow operators in Swift. This is an example of arithmetic operators and the values they print in the playground. Comparison operators. Swift supports all standard C comparison operators equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. Swift also provides two identity operators which are used to test whether two object references refer to the same object instance or not. Each of the comparison operators returns a bool value to indicate if the statement is true or false. Comparison operators are often used in conditional statements such as if statements. As you can see in the playground, if we try to print the result of a comparison, we get a Boolean value. Print A less than B prints true and the next print statement prints false. This shows an example of using comparison operators in if statements. Logical operators. Logical operators modify or combine the Boolean logic values true and false. Logical operators supported by Swift are not, and or. Logical not operator is a prefix operator and appears immediately before the value, and it is used to invert the Boolean value. Logical and operator creates logical expressions where both the values must be true for the overall expression to be true. Logical or operator is used to create logical expressions where any one of the two values should be true to make the overall expression true. Swift logical operators and or are left associative, which means that in a compound expression with multiple logical operators, leftmost subexpression is evaluated first. It is useful to include parentheses to make the complex expressions easier to read. For example, we have defined two Boolean variables, t and f, because logical operators operate on Boolean values. Now, if we try to print the return values after applying the logical operators, we get Boolean values, which means, like comparison operators, logical operators also return Boolean values. Bitwise operators. Bitwise operators enable you to change the value at the bit level. They are often used in low-level programming. Swift supports all the bitwise operators found in C. Bitwise AND operator combines the bits of two numbers and returns a new number whose bits are set to 1 only if the corresponding bits in both the operands are set to 1. Bitwise OR operator compares the bits of two numbers and return 1 if either of the operand bit is 1. Bitwise XOR compares the bits of two numbers and performs bitwise XORing on the operands. Bitwise NOT or complement operator flips the bits. That is, it sets the bit to 0 if it was 1 in the input. It is a unary operator. Bitwise left shift and right shift operators move all the bits in a number to the left or right by a certain number of places. Bitwise shifting have the effect of multiplying or dividing. For example, shifting an integer's bit to the left by one position doubles its value, whereas right shift by one bit halves its value. Assignment operators. A simple assignment operator assigns the value of the right operand to the left operand. Unlike the assignment operators in C and Objective-C, the assignment operator in Swift does not return a value. This prevents using assignment operators accidentally in place of equal to comparison operator. Swift also provides compound assignment operators that combine assignment with another operations like addition, subtraction, etc. Compound assignment operators do not return a value like simple assignment operators. Here is an example of assignment operators. We have assigned A to 20. As mentioned, assignment does not return any value, thus we cannot use it in conditional statements as shown. If we try to use it, it gives compiler error. Compound addition statement A plus equal to 10 is equivalent to adding 10 to current value of A and assigning it back to variable A. Range operators. Unlike C and Objective-C, Swift provides range operators for expressing a range of values in shortcut. Closed range operator it defines a range from A to B including both the ends, and it is useful in iterating over a range of values, for example in for loop. Half range operator defines a range that runs from B but does not runs from A to B but does not include B. Half range operators are useful when you work with zero-based lists such as arrays. Some of the miscellaneous operators provided by Swift are unary, minus, and plus, which are generally used to represent the sign of a number. Swift also provides a ternary operator and is used as a shorthand for if-else condition. Decision making. To execute different piece of code for different values of a variable or to run some extra code for a particular value, we need to use conditional statements. General form of a typical decision-making structure is as shown in the flowchart. First, we evaluate the condition and then based on its value true and false, we execute different set of statements. Some of the decision-making statements in Swift are if statement. It has a single if condition and executes a set of statements only if the condition is true. If statement can be followed by an optional else statement which executes a set of statements if the condition returns false. You can have chain of if-else statements if there are multiple conditions and you have different set of statements to execute for each of them. You can also use one if-else statement inside another. This type of statements are known as nested if statements. Switch statement is also a part of decision making and allows a variable to be tested for equality against list of values and execute different code for each value of the variable in the list. As you can see in the playground, this is an example of an if condition. This is an if-else statement and this is chain of if-else statements. This is an example of nested if statement where one if statement is nested inside another, and this is an example of switch statement. Here we are testing different values of variable A. In switch we can have multiple cases which are the values that the variable can take. We can also have range of values instead of a single specific value. As you can see in this case we have used range operators. Each case has its own set of statements in switch. Loops. In general, statements are executed sequentially, but there may be a situation to execute a set of statements multiple times. A loop statement allows us to execute a statement or a group of statements multiple times for a complicated path. Kinds of loops provided in Swift programming are for in loop. This loop performs a set of statements for each item in a range, sequence, collection, or progression. For loop executes a sequence of statements multiple times and abbreviates the code that manages loop variable. While loop performs a set of statements until a condition becomes false. They are best used when number of iteration is not known. Repeat while loop is similar to while loop except the fact that it checks the condition after executing the statements, whereas while loop checks for the condition before executing the set of statements. This is an example of foreign loop. Item is the local variable for this loop and 0 to 5 is the range for which we want to execute this loop. This is an example of a while loop where we check for the condition before executing a set of statements, and in the repeat while loop we check for the condition after executing the statements. Loop control. Loop control statements are used to change the execution from its normal sequence. Continue tells a loop to stop and start again at the beginning of next iteration. Break terminates the loop and transfers the execution to immediate next statements after the loop. Unlike switch statements in C, the switch statements in Swift do not fall through the bottom of each case and into the next case by default. Instead, the entire switch statement finishes its execution as soon as the matching case is found. To explicitly fall through the end of a particular switch case, use fall through. As you can see, the use of continue and break in this for loop. So if the value of item matches 2, the execution will stop and go to the start of next iteration, which is when value is 3. In this case, the print statement at the end in the for loop will be missed. So if the value of the item is equal to 4, then the execution of loop will stop and come out of the for loop. In the switch statement, we have declared a variable I equals to 0, and applying a switch over I now will print 0 and come out of the switch. But if we want to execute the next case 2, that is case 1 as well, we have to use fall through. So fall through will execute the matching case for the variable as well as the next case. That's it in this video. In the next video, we will learn about strings, characters, arrays, and dictionaries in Swift programming. Thanks for watching.